everybody, I'm Tom Vasel. Welcome to Look Back. Look Back is a series of videos that we do here on the Dice Tower where I take a look at games that I reviewed a year, 5 years, and 10 years ago. And I tell you what I think about them now, if I think about them at all. So let's jump back to a year ago last week and take a look at the reviews I did. I actually had a pretty good week. The only one I didn't get a 7 was Valor and Villainy Minions of Mordak. Now, you would think that that one actually would, I mean, it's beautiful produced, Skybound Games. It's an adventure-style game. There's a cool leveling up system in it. It's a one versus many, but it kind of falls off a bit for me, mostly because it's slightly hard for the good guys to win. But also the person who plays the bad guy is playing about 50% or more, even more of the game. It's not particularly fun in a group because that just, I don't know, those balances didn't work for me. And it's also a little random. So it's good-ish, but could be a whole lot better. Crash Octopus, I gave this one a 7. This is a dexterity game from Japan where there's an octopus out on the board. You see their head, you drop pieces on their head, they spread out. Then you're moving your ships around to go collect these pieces. It's a flicking game a little bit, and it's very funny and cool. I also gave a 7 to the Golden Ticket game, Willy Wonka. Willy Wonka, get your golden tickets. There's lots of chocolate bars in this game, fake ones. Some of them have golden tickets in. You're collecting as many chocolate bars as you can and hope one has a golden ticket. Very simple, but I think for families it's going to work well. Speaking of families with young preschool kids, It's a Small World game also gets a 7 from me. This is preschool, like I said, but it has the little ride. You're riding the boat through, and you have cards, and you're just trying to find these little people on the board somewhere. A little bit of a Where's Waldo. Not going to be great for adults, but for little kids, I found it to be phenomenal. 7 out of 10. Steampunk Rally Fusion. This is a follow-up to Steampunk Rally. It's basically Steampunk Rally with more stuff. More racetracks, more things. I gave it a 7.5 because I like this dice engine building racing game, but I do not particularly think that if I just had the regular game, I'd be that much more disappointed. I like having the extra stuff, but Steampunk Rally seems to be fine. Well, they just announced this week that there is going to be a Clone Wars pandemic-style game. And that makes sense because a year ago I reviewed a World of Warcraft pandemic-style game called World of Warcraft Wrath of the Lich King. It's based on a pandemic system, and you run around and you fight different enemies, and very pandemic-y. And it's one of my favorites of this genre. I think I like the fighting. I like there's a dice rolling in the game. I kind of like that. So I'd give this one an 8 out of 10. Necromold's Monster Battles is silly fun. It is a miniature-style game where all your miniatures are made out of Play-Doh, and you are marching across the board, and if you fight someone, it's a very simple miniatures game, and you beat them, you smash their model. Very satisfying, great for families. Another family game, Lisbon Tram 28, a famous line in Lisbon, Portugal. This is a Ticket to Ride style game, collecting cards, going around doing things. You upgrade your little trolley. I really like it. It has a little bell in it, and it's fun, and I think families should check it out. 8 out of 10. And then Picture Perfect. What a fantastic game. We have a bunch of people. They all want to stand in different positions. You can't make everybody happy, and you take a picture of them. I just played this last week with my family, and we had a great time. 8.5. 5 years ago, you would think I did not like donuts. I adore them, but Go Nuts for Donuts, I gave a 3 out of 10. This was a follow-up to Sushi Party, which just does not work. You're picking donuts, but it felt too random. I didn't like it at all. I also didn't like Donut Drive-Thru. This is a donut game about worker placement. I gave this one a 4. I gave Go Nuts for Donuts a 3. This one's a 4, not much better. Just, man, I want to like donut games. I also gave a 4 to Dicebot Mega Fun from WizKids. This is a robot battling game where you roll dice, and it just doesn't work, unfortunately. 4 out of 10. The Castles of Burgundy, the dice game. I like Castle of Burgundy. I like Castle of Burgundy, the card game, but the dice game, a roll right, I found to be just okay. It almost feels a little bit like a cash-in. 6 out of 10. Amos Cube, this Korean game about building a cube out of three-dimensional objects. I found this one neat, but I don't feel like I want to play it much anymore, so it just gets a 6.5. Super Mario Level Up board game. This is a remake of a game called King Up. So don't forget about the Super Mario theme. I like the Super Mario theme, but it's not just a mass market game. You're moving people up. You secretly want some of the characters to be at the top and some to be at the bottom. A fun, simple, light game. 7 out of 10. Meeple Circus, I actually dropped this one from an 8 to a 7. I like the silliness of it. It's a fun game, you know, you're stacking little meeples and acrobats. There's just a lot of these games out there, and this one has paled for me just a tad over the past 5 years. Harvest. This is an 8 for me. This is from Tasty Minstrel, and I did not like the first game in the series called Harbor, but Harvest, which is a different designer, Trey Chambers, a worker placement game, collecting things. The theme's not particularly exciting, but it works really well. 8 out of 10. Custom Heroes is a card crafting game like Veiled Fate and other games that just use this idea of putting clear plastic cards. This one does it in a ladder climbing game or a card shedding game, and man, it works really well. It's a little random and there's some kooky, chaotic things that can happen, but the idea of building the cards is so much fun it overcomes that to make it an 8. Chimera Station, a worker placement game where you can change your workers. They're little aliens and they're built out of 3 different parts, and each part will do something. Maybe a part means they don't need to eat food. Maybe a part means they get extra points when they go to a different spot on the board. I really enjoy how they work, and it's a lot of fun and cool production. Also from Tasty Minstrel. That's an 8 out of 10. Crossfire, an 8.5 out of 10. This is a social deduction game, which I normally am not as huge of a fan of, but this one in particular, just a small deck of cards from Emerson Matsuuchi, has a few games in it. They all work well, my favorite being the assassination game. Easy to carry, portable, and fun. Escape Room in a Box, The Werewolf Experiment. This one I gave a 9 to. I like it that much. I love escape room games in general, but this one has a lot of three-dimensionality to it, especially they remade it a couple years later, but this original one I got from the Kickstarter just had some really cool, fun things to it. And then Century Golem Edition. This is a remake of Century with the Golem pictures, again from Emerson. Fantastic game, another 9 out of 10. So fast, so simple, love it. 10 years ago, I took a look at Monopoly Town. This is a preschool version of Monopoly. Not good, 5 out of 10. Ergo. This is a game all based on logic. But it's so deep and so crunchy and so, and I love logic, but this is too much to the point where it's not fun as a game. So 5.5. Cool idea, but doesn't work. Little Devils, just a kind of a boring little card game with little cute devils. It's okay. 6 out of 10. The Dwarf King. I also gave this one a 6 out of 10. I know a lot of people love the Dwarf King, but here's the thing. The Dwarf King is random. Now, I know I just said I like the chaotic randomness of Custom Heroes, but in the Dwarf King, it's a trick-taking game, and I just want trick-taking games to be a little bit more straightforward. It's okay. I'll play it. I just don't love it. 6 out of 10. Crude the Oil Game. This was an old game that was remade by Stronghold Games. This one I think has dropped a bit over the years. I like the idea of searching for oil, but there's a lot of other economic games I would pick over it, so I dropped it from a 7 to a 6. Sheepland. This is one of the original games from the Dream Team, design team of Luciani and Tassini, and man, these guys make great crunchy games. This one's a lighter game about a farmer with sheep, but I don't know, I'm going to have to go back and give this one another whirl. 7 out of 10. Swish from Think Fun. Think Fun makes puzzle type stuff, and that's how this one works, as you're kind of jumping around from card to card with these clear cards. It's a really clever, neat idea. 8 out of 10. Seven Wonders Cities. This is the second expansion for Seven Wonders. The first one, Leaders, I didn't like it as much at first, but it grew on me. Cities I liked from the outset. It's probably the simplest expansion to add, but I think it adds more interaction between the players. 8 out of 10. Sunrise City. This is from Clever Mojo, their second game. Their first game was Alien Frontiers, which really put them on the map. But Sunrise City, it's a city building style game with really thick tiles and a very unique scoring system. Citadels, I took a look at 10 years ago. I like the game a lot. It's an 8 out of 10 for me, though, which doesn't, some people are like, I thought you loved it. I like it. It's a little too long, and too many players can slow it down, but it still works. My wife just learned it for the first time and said to me, you know, I thought this game's a lot simpler than I thought. I was like, yeah, it is a very simple, straightforward, good game, Citadels. And then Starship Catan, which I took a look at. It didn't come out 10 years ago, but I love this two-player Cosmos game that's based on Starfarers of Catan, which is a space version of Settlers of Catan. But this two-player game stands in its own right with a little bit of memory, a little bit of push your luck, trading in a two-player game. Great components. It's a lot of fun. So those are reviews that I did 1, 5, and 10 years ago. Tell me what you think about them in the comments. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been listening to Look Back on the Dice Tower.